Hey everyone, it's Alan Brochstein in Houston, Texas with 420 Investor, which I'm transitioning to Seeking Alpha, and New Cannabis Ventures. And I'm here with your weekly update on the cannabis sector. It was another very rough week in a very rough year. And the pieces of news that came out that would be of interest to cannabis investors are number one, Illinois reported their November numbers. This is the first, uh, well, actually, that's not true. Michigan beat them, but it was the second state to report both medical and adult use sales for November. And in November, the sequential decline was 0.8%. And in that, if you do the math, given that November has one less day than October, that's actually a per day increase. Um, but with Thanksgiving in there, I'm not sure how the seasonals work. And year over year, the growth surged. How much did it surge? I think from like 3%, but to 4.2%. So that's not good growth. At least it's growth, but that market has matured basically. And the good news for the future there is that we will have more dispensaries opening in Illinois soon, and hopefully that makes a difference. Um, Michigan reported their adult use and medical use cannabis sales, and they fell a little bit more, 2.9% from October to 203 million, and Illinois was 159 million. Uh, and that growth, though, was up 33% from a year ago, an acceleration, like Illinois. Illinois' growth was only 4.2%, but it was the highest in many months. And Michigan's strong too. And the thing that's interesting about Michigan, you can review our article or look at the underlying links, and you'll see that prices there have been coming down, but the unit volume's been surging. And so with the prices down as much as they are for flower, but the sales up 33% from a year ago overall is really an important thing. I did publish 5 things for 420 Investor subscribers, including the weekly review a week ago. I provided a link in this YouTube to this week's, which I'm basing this video off of, but I had that one, which you can click through and read. I also had 2 other ones from December 9th, the 420 Investor Model Portfolio Composition article and the Cannabis Subsector Review. And in a week ago, I looked at the month-to-date returns. Just so you know, this week I looked at quarter-to-date. And it's kind of interesting to bunch together the similar companies by either sector or subsector, I should say, and by market cap. So in other words, how are the largest MSOs doing? How are the tier 2 doing? What about the tier 3? What about the more emerging MSOs? And so those were the 3 that I always do on Friday. And then I published 2 pieces for the 420 Investor Newsletter January edition. And the thing that's really good for my subscribers at 420 Investor is that they get those articles kind of real time, and rather than waiting until the end of the month like the subscribers to the 420 Investor Newsletter have to do. And the first one was kind of poorly timed. I wrote over the weekend about Ascend Wellness, and it's a large position of mine in my model portfolios at 420 Investor. And the name of that piece was, "This Cannabis Stock Should Ascend." Did it this week? No, the whole market was down, but actually Ascend fell less than the whole market. And then yesterday morning, right at the open, I wrote my 3rd piece, and that was entitled "A Look at the Large MSOs." And I'm a guy who publicly has berated MSOS as an ETF, and you can always find that on either LinkedIn I'm sorry. Yeah, you can find it there too. But the article you can find on Seeking Alpha, or also by checking our old newsletters at New Cannabis Ventures. But I like MSOs, and I've been very public about, well, I really like the tier two MSOs, not so much the tier one. But after this crash, I stepped up this week and bought more of, last week I started it, and this week I bought more of Verano. That's the one of the top 5 names that I own. And I still own some tier two. And in this piece that I put out right before the open yesterday, I talked about how even MSOS at 8 looked like a bargain to me. Now, should you invest because I'm saying this? No. You should look into it and determine for yourself if I'm right or wrong. I could be wrong. I've said a lot of things this year that haven't been right. It's been a tough year. I also published a piece at Seeking Alpha on Planet 13. Planet 13 is one of my 31 names that I focus on, and I like the company. I don't own any currently, and in that article I said that, and I talked about how I think it's attractive longer term, and I am finding better ideas for now. But the stock did drop just a little bit from where I wrote it up on the weekend, and they published it, I think, Monday. Maybe it was Tuesday. I don't remember when they published it. But I still like Planet 13 a lot. And you can read that piece on Seeking Alpha. I'm a big fan of Seeking Alpha, and I'm going to write more there. There were 5 pieces of news from my focus list names. Cureleaf expanded what they call the Farmers Select program in California. GTI, this was not big news, but to me it was very personal because I really like Anthony, the former CFO. He was promoted to president. He's been there a long time. He's been the CFO for 5 years, I think. And they named the chief accounting officer, who's been there a few years also, to be the CFO. And I'm not going to say what I think about that guy. I've never talked to him. I don't know him. But I know and like Anthony Georgiadis a lot. And I wondered why he was still the CFO. I think he's a great guy, smart guy. But I know public companies, and there was a little bit of a disconnect, I think, there. Did they fix it? I'm not sure. I really don't know yet. Planet 13 came out with some news about a collaboration with Lil Wayne. Trulieve announced a partnership with some California companies to bring more branded product into Florida. And then Tilray launched a new limited edition of Riff premium flower with 2 collections of craft flower. And okay, good for them. So what did the market do this week? I don't know. Let's look. Here we go. And so the global cannabis stock index, which I had predicted would have a better second half than first half, broke its September 30th low on Thursday. It was up on Friday, but it set a new intraday low right at the open. And so I can tell my subscribers that what I said is technically true, although it's hugely disappointing. The second half, we're down, but it's been a lot better than the first half. And I think, I really thought, and I think I might have led people to believe that we have a great second half. It's not a great second half. So at this point, as I look out to the next year, I am optimistic, and I've been talking to my subscribers about this for a while, why I'm optimistic. But the second half of this year has been a dud, or the fourth quarter has been a dud. And so we dropped this week 9.5% on that index. And the S&P 500 was down 2%. So it was another terrible week for our sector. And this year to date, we're down 66.5%. That's pretty bad. It's one of the worst years ever. And, and we're really low, but you know that. I don't need to tell you about that. So, what about my model portfolios? They had a rough week. And I've been very publicly heavy into ancillary names and avoiding the large MSOs. So, it was probably good not to be in the large MSOs this week, but everything got killed. And Flying High, which is a account that's designed to do swing trading, was down 17.3% this week. That was worse than the market. And year to date, it's doing very poorly. It's down 55.6% year to date. It's been fully long the whole time, so I'm doing better than the market, but that's not the metric to measure. I can't short. So the right one is if stocks are going up, you buy them, but if they're going down, you don't. And this has been a bad year for that model portfolio. 420 Opportunity was down 14.7% this week. That's a little bit worse than the index. And it's down 9.2% in Q4. So it's not doing well. It's still ahead year to date of the index, but not by much. So I'm passing that test, but I'm not making an A plus anymore. The year to date return is 64.1% loss. That's a little bit better. And the 420 Quality Index was down 14.8% this week, so pretty close to the same thing. Those two portfolios are pretty much the exact same thing right now. In year to date, it's down the exact same as 420 Opportunity, just a little bit better than the market. So this has been a terrible year. I came into this year thinking, well, after that huge decline from February of 21 till now, we're going to do better. And no, for a lot of reasons, this has been a really tough year. But I think if you take the time to think about what happened and will it persist, I think you'll come up with the answer, no, it won't persist. And so to me, that's an opportunity. That's what I tell my subscribers. The last thing I want to cover today is the calendar. Well, we have Christmas coming up, and that's really the next thing on the calendar. With that said, this week, Canada is going to release their October sales, and I will share that at New Cannabis Ventures on Tuesday morning. Take care. Have a good Christmas, everybody.